Hello and welcome to CR Wrestling Commentary Fandom Memories. Terry Funk is who I'll be talking about. Now, I'm going to tell you, I want to be honest with you. I'm going to be, forthcoming, no BS. Yeah, this is because, a few days ago, saw the post about Funk's health going down. I was like, oh man, no. And then, Cornette's done his thing and he and Brian Labs were talking about Terry Funk and what Dreamer said, okay, yeah. But this is like how I remember somebody, from my first time seeing them to what I thought of them and whatnot. And when it comes to Terry Funk, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't see much of him. Just I was a homebody, North Carolina kid, whose parents didn't travel, didn't like to travel. Even though I was curious to travel and loved wrestling, never knew where it was. The only thing I would know is when wrestling was coming near me. That was it. Never knew any other things, where to go or anything like that. So listen, if this turns you off that I don't have much to necessarily say or a deep dive thing about Terry Funk and all of his opponents and stuff, okay, I understand. You want to tune out because of that? That's cool. But I do have a general scope of them, and I'm going to jump right on into it. So, cognitively, I began watching wrestling at the midway tail end of 1988. The first thing I ever saw, and I never understood it, I didn't know where it came from or anything. Terry Funk comes to the ring, assaults Ric Flair. Ric Flair to me was always the bad guy, so Funk comes in just a wild maniac, beats him down, gets a hold of him, power drives him on the table at ringside where the announcers would normally be. I'm like, what in the world? That was my first time seeing cognitively Terry Funk. I had probably seen him quite a few times beforehand. But I'm saying cognitively, I was just a little kid, 12. So look, I watched that and it was like major news. It was even on, the local news channel about Ric Flair possibly being hurt and the wild man Terry Funk assaulting him. And I'm like, man, why would he do? What did Ric Flair do to make someone worse than he is? And I knew Ric Flair was a bad guy, but I never understood how much of a bad guy he was. But then, so much. I sat there and watched them have, I think it was the I Quit match. And they whooped up on each other. It was a fight. It was a fight. And I didn't know necessarily who to cheer because I am used to Flair being the bad guy. And I wasn't someone that could follow wrestling like most people can. If it didn't come on TV, it wasn't seen. If it didn't come on TV, it wasn't known. I saw wrestling magazines and I asked my dad if I could get one because I wanted to know what was going on in terms of wrestling in general, and he was just like, well, they ain't going to tell you anything. And I opened up one of the magazines and it didn't say anything. It wasn't about why are they feuding? Where did it come from? It was more or less, like bragging rights. It was rumors. It was like, I guess, well, back then my mindset was they were talking about the last incident, but it was always a short thing. Like there was one where I remember for Funk and Flair, all it said, but the thing is, it had nothing to do with what I was currently seeing on TV. And that was an issue because the problem is it was dated back a while ago, and it was saying that, you know, Funk think he can come in and save the day, but, you know, I'm the nature boy. He's going to learn a lesson, something in that realm. And I'm like, that's not, you know, and it was dated for the same week, but what was in there it had to have been written a time way before. So I had to listen to my dad. It wasn't about anything. So they have this match, and Funk is saying, hey, you better quit, because he had him up. They're going to pile drive him on the table. And I was like, they did this. And I couldn't tell if I was watching it again or if it was something. I was like, no, he didn't do it before. There was no microphone. Flair told him, I ain't quitting. I'm not. And then he power drove him. Everyone goes ballistic. Everyone's in the uproar. So I'm like, what in the world? You know, Flair, and the commentator talked about Flair's neck, and I was worried about his neck, and, you know, and Flair goes on to win the match. I wasn't exactly happy, but I wasn't mad or sad. I was more like, maybe Flair don't have to fight this guy again, because this guy is absolutely nuts. So after that, and see, that's why this is so, you're going to be like, wow, this is a lot of skipping. It wasn't long after that, I didn't see Funk for a while. Nothing about him. And then all of a sudden he shows back up, dressed to the nines in a tuxedo, you know, curly locks flowing back, and he's doing commentary. And I'm like, what? Won't this guy just trying to break somebody's neck and kill him? Why is he up here talking like he's decent? And I'm like, you know, whoever's with him needs to watch out. So time skips. I didn't see much of Funk because he was gone after about a month or two. Didn't see him anymore. And then, like, a year later, I see, you know, about a year and a half, Flair goes to WWF as the Real World's champion. I don't hear anything about Funk until much later. He's in ECW, which was extremely hard to, I didn't know where it was. I had seen it on pay-per-view. And all it said was hardcore action. I thought it was porn. Didn't care. And this is back in the day when you got the preview guy scrolling, tells you a description. And, you know, if it says something like, you know, E.T. extraterrestrial, it would say Elliot tries to help his alien friend find his way home. But when it came to wrestling, it was just like anything for WCW, say hard-hitting wrestling action. For WWF, it would say great family wrestling fun for all. And for ECW and others, there's one other, I can't remember what it was. I think it was UWF, I think. But yeah, just hardcore action. And well, I'm not really interested in that. And if I said anything about wrestling, what I would have done was try to turn to the channel and see if I could get a glimpse of it before it ends. But, you know, I was not interested in watching porn because, you know, I was rifling through my dad's stash. I had that. Who cares? And so I see Funk in ECW talking, and I don't see him wrestling. He's just talking, comes to the ring, kind of like a wild man, but everyone is cheering him, and he is just, it's just, you know, Funk you and Grandpa Terry, and just everyone just, I mean, like cheering like he is the greatest good guy on the planet. I was like, this dude is out of his mind. Why are you cheering for him? And this is what happens when you can't follow someone's career, because it's just big gaps. It's just massive gaps. And then I saw a lot of the footage. I saw the chairs flying at him, and it looked, honestly, he got beamed upside the head, but I am so used to things. It looked like he was just having fun. And I think part of him was, but I also think a part of him was like, oh crap, I'm in danger. Saw him do the moonsault and miss. And I was like, okay, because it was like, we're going to just show you this match. And it started happening later. It just, like we bring you this match halfway through it. And Jim Cornette is down there. And I'm like, why is Cornette talking to Funk? They more or less got along. Well, they should have. They were both jackwads. And he said something to him. And Funk kind of moved his head a little bit. And Cornette kind of just, I don't know, kind of shook his head a little bit, I guess. And then covered his mouth a bit. But I didn't know what was going on. Now I know what it was. It was a moonsault, probably Terry's first. And as Cornette says, like, Terry, what are you doing? Jimmy, I don't know. And it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? He's like 53 at the time, 53 and a half. It's not the age, it's the ability and the mobility. And, I was like, if you're going to do the move, at least hit it. After that, I didn't really see too much of Terry Funk. He was in ECW, and then he was just, I saw him in WCW maybe a handful of times. And then he was just gone. Nothing memorable in WCW. And he was just gone. And then ECW comes out with their is it Beyond the Mat? Behind something. And Terry Funk was up there, and I got to hear him talk for real. Because the ECW was gone. ECW's gone. And Terry talks, and it's so, you can hear the sadness. Because I liked ECW, but not the hardcore stuff. I saw professional wrestling with an edge. And Terry Funk, he said that line that just, it sticks with me today, and it resonated. He was like, I just miss my friends. That, when he said that with his voice, his tone, it just yanked at my heart. It just straight up jerked the tears right out of my face. I was like, man, I felt like I lost everybody. It hurt. I mean, it hurt bad. And I had to fight like a juggernaut to hold that pain in, because I'm like, at the time, I'm like, I don't think people would understand. But then I didn't see him anymore, and that was it. But now I know who Terry is behind the crazy. Maybe I should just look up some more Terry Funk matches, since now that everyone's showing them. But I want to get this done before he's done. I want to get this done, so I don't want to be like, oh yeah, now that he's gone, you'll talk about him. No. I've wanted to do this for the past 3 weeks, but I just didn't know what to say, because I still don't know what to say today. And this is a short one, but hey, it's the homebody boy in North Carolina with no access to anything, and this is all I was able to see. Anything now would just be like, well, can't follow a storyline, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, the family's home, and you probably got stuff to do. This has been Cedric Kennedy for CR Wrestling Commentary. Thank you for listening.